Good morning. I'm delighted to be here with you, sharing another miraculous day. Let's take a moment to drop our awareness inwards, downwards, and become fully present here, in the now, in this moment. And then let us offer our crowns as we say these words. We begin this day in gratitude. We open our hearts and we surrender to love. We ask love to lead the way through the minutes and the hours of this new day. We welcome joy, fun, and abundant prosperity. We recognize that all encounters are wholesome and that all experiences can be met with a peaceful heart that is anchored in the truth that we are one, that we are love, and that we are free. And so we release these words and we let it be. Okay, lesson 166. I am entrusted with the gifts of God. I am entrusted with the gifts of love. All things are given you. God's trust in you is limitless. God knows their child, and God gives without exception, holding nothing back that can contribute to your happiness. And yet, unless your will is one with love's gifts are not received. And what would make you think there is another will than God's? Here's the paradox that underlies the making of the world. The world is not the will of God or of love's, and so it is not real. Yet those who think it real must still believe there is another will, and one that leads to opposite effects from those God wills. Impossible indeed, but every mind that looks upon the world and judges it as certain, solid, trustworthy, and true, believes in two creators, or in one, themselves alone, and never in one God. So if you think about that, God created us in likeness to themselves, so we are that extension of God. We are one with God. There is no degree of separation between us and love. And yet we look outside at all these things that we create with our minds, this illusion, this Maya. And we begin to place all our attention there, not deliberately or consciously. This is the world that we're here in right now, but we're here knowing that there's something missing. There's something not quite right. And so we're sitting here wondering and asking, and we're at this place of wanting to know, well, who am I or what am I? And so we're using this course to turn our attention back to the fact that we are love, to recognize that we are love itself and that everything else is an illusion. And the knowing of that is what provides us with these gifts that we can accept. So the gifts of love are not acceptable to anyone who holds such strange beliefs. They must believe that to accept God's gifts, however evident they may become, however urgently they may be called to claim them as their own, is to be pressed to treachery against themselves. They must deny their presence, contradict the truth, and suffer to preserve the world they made. So this is this whole idea of, letting go of the identity that you have so strongly identified with, the identity that you thought was you. The beautiful thing is that there's no losing here. There's nothing that you truly need to let go of. You can have this identity to play with or to play in, so to speak, because you love expressing yourself through this. But the you that thought that this was you believes there's something that it must let go in order to know the love that it is. And so it feels sort of threatened. Here is the only home you think you know. Here is the only safety you believe that you can find. Without the world you made, you are an outcast, homeless and afraid. This is how you feel. You do not realize that it is here that you are afraid indeed, and homeless too, and outcast wandering, so far from home, so long away, that you do not realize you've forgotten where you came from, where you go, and even who you really are. But yet we all have an inkling of that, because I believe that's what brought us here in the first place. That's why we're sitting looking at this course, because there is a knowing of more, of something beyond that feeling of being lost or slightly bereft, or of getting something and realizing that's not it. I thought this house was going to bring me happiness. I thought this relationship was going to bring me happiness. I thought when I had a new car, I didn't have to worry about it, I'd be happy. And then you get it and you realize this is not it. There's that low grade feeling all the time that something is not quite right. And that's what brings you here in this seeking and this searching and this wandering. So we all have this experience. Yet in the lonely, senseless wanderings, God's gifts go with you, all unknown to you. You can't lose them. But you will not look at what is given you. You wander on, aware of the futility you see about you everywhere, perceiving how your little lot but dwindles. And as you go ahead to nowhere, still you wander on in misery and poverty, alone, though love is with you. And a treasure so great that everything the world contains is valueless before its magnitude. So again, it's that unveiling of, this magnificent love that goes with you wherever you go, that is who you are. You are never, ever separate from it. But when you have your focus outside, objectively outside on anything, including this body, you have no idea of who or what you are. You seem a sorry figure, weary, worn in threadbare clothing, and with feet that bleed a little from the rocky road you walk. Everyone is identified with you, for everyone who comes here has pursued the path you follow, and has felt defeat and hopelessness as you are feeling them. Yet, are you really tragic when you see that you are following the way you chose and need only realize who walks with you and open up the treasures and be free? So there is nothing in truth to be pitied, because this isn't really a tragedy, because it's not real. It can feel pretty real, but it's not real. And so if we go down that path of feeling sorry for ourselves or feeling sorry for other people, we're moving further away from the truth rather than closer. We need only realize who walks with us and open up their treasures and be free. And the word, for me all the time is open, like keep opening to that. This is your chosen self, the one you made as a replacement for reality. Now, again, you didn't sit down and say, I'm going to decide to make this replacement for the love that I am. That's not sort of how you evolved. But you did come to this place of recognizing, no, I think there's more. This is the self you savagely defend against all reason, every evidence, and all the witnesses with proof to show this is not you. You do not heed them. You go on your appointed way with eyes cast down, and thus you will not catch a glimpse of truth and be released from self-deception and set free. So you have a choice. You can continue on that path of self-deception. But I know you don't want to. And who is even the I that knows? But I, sense that you're here for the same reason as I'm here. You cower fearfully, and thus you will not feel the touch of God's child upon your shoulder and perceive its gentle hand directing you to look upon your gifts. How could you then proclaim your poverty in exile? The innocent child of God would make you laugh at this perception of yourself. Where's self-pity then? And what becomes of all the tragedy you sought to make for them, who God indeed intended only joy? So all you're letting go of is tragedy and misery and drudgery by releasing any idea of separation. And everything begins with an openness and a willingness. Your ancient fear has come upon you now, and justice has caught up with you at last. The hand of God's child has touched your shoulder, and you feel that you are not alone. You even think the miserable self you thought was you may not be your identity. So you're questioning, you're entertaining the idea of the moreness. Perhaps God's word is truer than your own. Perhaps God's gifts to you are real. Perhaps God has not wholly been outwitted by your plan to keep God's child in deep oblivion and to go the way you chose without yourself, capital S. God's will does not oppose, it merely is. It is not God that you have imprisoned in your plan to lose yourself. God does not know about a plan so alien to God's will. There was a request God did not understand, to which God gave an answer. That is all. And you who have this answer given you have no more need of anything but this. So, this idea, again, I think I spoke about this the other day, that there is anyone or anything watching you and your behavior and your choices. Love has no knowing of anything other than itself. Love is free. It's just completely free and is permeating all that is and is all that is. Now do we live, for now we cannot die. So now we begin to live fully. The wish for death is answered, and the sight that looked upon it now has been replaced by vision, which perceives that you are not what you pretend to be. One walks with you who gently answers all your fears with this one merciful reply: it is not so. This one points to all the gifts you have each time the thought of poverty oppresses you, and speaks of its companionship when you perceive yourself as lonely and afraid. Yet the innocent child of God reminds you still of one more thing you had forgotten, for its touch on you has made you like itself. The gifts you have are not for you alone. What it has come to offer you, you now must learn to give. So you be the expression of that. You become the expression of that love. This is the lesson that its giving holds, for it has saved you from the solitude you sought to make in it, in which to hide from God or from love. It has reminded you of all the gifts that love has given you. It speaks as well of what becomes your will when you accept these gifts and recognize they are your own. So when we stop obsessing, objectifying, being self-absorbed, and become that movement of love, we become so much more compassionate, so much more kinder, so much more understanding, so available. The gifts are yours, entrusted to your care to give to all who chose the lonely road you have escaped. And that's compassion. They do not understand. They only pursue their wishes. So they're in that place of singular thinking. It's all about me. It is you who teach them now, for you have learnt of the innocent child of God. There is another way for them to walk. So you have learned about who you are, and now you want to share that they are one with you. Teach them by showing them the happiness that comes to those who feel the touch of God's holy child and recognize God's gifts. Do not let sorrow tempt you to be unfaithful to your trust. So don't even get caught up in their stories. Just recognize that anyone that is expressing themselves other than love is in a call for love. Your sighs betray the hopes of those who look to you for their release. Your tears are theirs. If you are sick, you would hold their healing. What you fear teaches them their fears are justified. Reverse this. Your hand becomes the giver of the touch of God's innocent child. So you become love expressing itself. Your change of mind becomes the proof that who accepts love can never suffer anything. You are entrusted with the world's release from pain. Do not betray the world. Become, I love this, become the living proof of what the touch of God's child can offer everyone. So become the living proof that you are love itself. God has entrusted all God's gifts to you. Be witness in your happiness to how transformed the mind becomes, which chooses to accept God's gifts, to feel the touch of God's child. So to feel, to know your innocence, to drop in, drop down, and know that you are innocence. Such is your mission now, for God entrusts the giving of its gifts to all who have received them. God has shared their joy with you, and now you go to share it with the world. And I would sum all that up by simply saying that when you recognize the love that you are, when you even open to the possibility that you are pure love, and you consciously decide to move through the world as love, recognizing that everyone that you meet is you, is not separate from you. And even in seeming form, they may be behaving badly. And you recognize that as a call for love. And so you answer that call for love with love by being love. I'm just going to take a moment just to open and be still and be quiet. And dropping in again. Down from the head, dropping down, down into the quiet. When you're ready, gently opening your eyes and choosing to be that movement, that extension of love expressing itself all through the day.